Marcus bought the ring at a small antique shop on a rainy Tuesday afternoon because it looked interesting and cost only $15. The silver band had strange symbols carved into it that seemed to shift when he looked at them from different angles, but he figured it was just clever metalwork. He wore it on his right hand and forgot about it until 3 days later, when the tall woman appeared at his apartment door. She was beautiful in a way that made his brain struggle to process what he was seeing, because her skin had a faint purple tint and her eyes were too large and too blue, and her hair moved like it was underwater, even though there was no breeze. "Hello, husband," she said with a smile that showed too many teeth. Marcus stared at her because what else could he do when a strange woman called him husband and looked like she stepped out of a science fiction movie? "I am not your husband," he finally managed to say. She looked down at his hand where the ring sat on his finger, and her smile grew wider. "You wear the bond ring of House Valara, and I am Kira of House Valara. So yes, you are my husband according to the laws of my people." Marcus looked at the ring, and then back at her, and his mind raced through possibilities, because this had to be a prank, or maybe he was dreaming, or maybe he had finally lost his mind from too many late nights at work. "This is just a ring I bought at a shop," he said slowly. Kira stepped into his apartment without waiting for an invitation, and looked around with curious eyes that took in everything from his messy coffee table to the pile of laundry he had been meaning to fold for 3 days. "It is a bond ring," she said as she picked up a framed photo of his family and studied it. "With interest, my grandmother lost it 200 years ago when she visited your planet, and we have been searching for it ever since, because whoever wears it becomes bound to our house through ancient laws that cannot be broken." Marcus felt his legs go weak, and he sat down hard on his couch because this woman was either completely insane or telling the truth, and he did not know which option scared him more. "So you are saying you are an alien?" he said. Kira set down the photo and turned to face him with an expression that suggested she found his question amusing. "Yes, I am from a planet you call Kepler, 447 in your astronomical charts, and my people have been watching Earth for many generations." She moved closer and sat down beside him on the couch, and he could smell something like cinnamon and electricity coming from her. "The bond ring was created by my ancestors as a way to unite families and create alliances, and once it is worn, the bond cannot be broken unless both parties agree or one of us dies." Marcus pulled at the ring, but it would not budge from his finger no matter how hard he tried, and a cold fear settled in his stomach. "Take it off," he said. "I cannot," she replied calmly, "because only you can remove it, and only when you truly wish to end our bond, and right now you do not truly wish it because you are curious about me." She was right, and he hated that she was right, because part of him did want to know more about this impossible woman who claimed to be from another world. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now we follow tradition," she said, and stood up with fluid grace that made her look like she was dancing even though she was just walking. "You must come with me to my ship and meet my family and learn about your new responsibilities as part of House Valara." Marcus laughed, because what else could he do when faced with something so absurd? But his laugh died when Kira pulled a small device from her pocket and pressed a button. The air in front of them shimmered and split open like a curtain being drawn back, and through the opening he could see a room made of white metal with strange lights floating in the air, and 3 more people who looked similar to Kira. They were watching him with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. "This is real," he whispered. "Yes," Kira said, and took his hand in hers, and her skin was warm and smooth, and sent tingles up his arm. "Come and meet your new family husband." Marcus wanted to refuse, but his feet carried him forward because the ring on his finger pulsed with warmth and seemed to pull him toward the opening. He stepped through, and the world lurched, and suddenly he was standing in the white metal room, and the portal closed behind him with a sound like rushing water. The 3 people moved forward, and one of them was an older woman with silver hair and the same purple-tinted skin, who looked at Marcus with sharp, intelligent eyes. "So this is the human who found my mother's ring," she said. "Yes," Grandmother Kira replied with a slight bow. "This is Marcus, and he is now bound to our house whether he understands it or not." The older woman circled Marcus like a predator examining prey, and he forced himself to stand, still even though every instinct screamed at him to run. "He is weak," she said finally. "His body is soft and his mind is untrained, and he knows nothing of our ways. But the bond is legitimate," Kira said. "The ring accepted him, and that means something. Grandmother." The older woman, whose name Marcus later learned was Sora, studied him for a long moment before nodding slowly. "Very well," she said. "He will stay and learn, and if he proves worthy, he may remain as part of our family, and if not, the bond will be dissolved and he will be returned to his world with his memories intact but his connection to us severed." Marcus found his voice and spoke up because he was not going to let these people decide his fate without having a say. "I did not agree to any of this," he said. "I bought a ring at a shop and now you are saying I am married and part of your family. And that is not how things work. Where I come from." Sora turned her sharp gaze on him, and he felt like she could see right through him, to all his fears and doubts. "The ring chooses who wears it," she said. "It could have been bought by 1,000 people, but it stayed dormant until you touched it, and that means something human. You have qualities that the ring recognized even if you do not see them yourself." "What qualities?" Marcus asked, because he was just a normal guy who worked in tech support and played video games on weekends and had never done anything special in his life. "That is what we will discover," Sora said. She gestured to the other two people in the room who had been watching silently. "This is Kyle and Lyra, and they will be your teachers and guides." Kyle was a tall man with broad shoulders and a serious expression who looked like he could break Marcus in half. Without much effort, Lyra was younger than Kira, with bright, curious eyes and a friendly smile that made Marcus feel slightly less terrified. Over the next weeks, Marcus learned things that shattered everything he thought he knew about the universe. He learned that Kira's people called themselves the Valari, and they were explorers and traders who traveled between stars using technology that looked like magic. He learned that Earth was part of a larger community of worlds, but humans were considered too primitive and violent to be contacted officially. He learned that the bond ring was more than just a marriage symbol, because it connected his mind to Kira in ways that let them share thoughts and feelings when they touched. And he learned that Kira was not just beautiful and strange, but also kind and patient and funny in ways that surprised him. She taught him about her world and showed him star charts that mapped galaxies he had never imagined. She told him stories about her childhood and her adventures exploring distant planets. She laughed at his jokes and listened when he talked about his own life. And slowly Marcus began to feel something that scared him more than the impossible situation he found himself in. He was falling. For her. The training with Kale was brutal because the man pushed Marcus harder than anyone had ever pushed him before. He learned to fight with weapons that shot energy instead of bullets. He learned to pilot small ships through asteroid fields and navigate using stars instead of computer systems. He learned about trade negotiations and galactic politics and the delicate balance of power between different alien species. Lyra taught him about Valari culture and history, and the importance of family bonds and honor. She explained why the ring was so significant, and how Marcus wearing it had actually resolved a 200-year-old scandal in House Valara. His grandmother had stolen the ring from a rival house, she explained. Finding it and binding it to someone proved that our family still had honor and that the ring chose to return to us. "But why did it choose me?" Marcus asked. Lyra smiled and tapped his chest right over his heart. "Because you have courage even when you are afraid," she said, "and you have kindness even when you are confused, and you respect Kira, even though she turned your life upside down. Those are qualities that matter to the ring and to us." Marcus thought about her words as he lay in his assigned quarters that night, staring at the ceiling that showed projections of alien constellations. He had been on Kira's ship for almost 2 months now, and he still wore the ring, because every time he thought about taking it off, something stopped him. It was not the bond or the magic of the ring, but something simpler. He did not want to leave. Kira found him on the observation deck the next morning, watching Earth spin slowly in the view screen. She stood beside him in comfortable silence before speaking. "Do you miss it?" she asked. "Your home and your old life?" Marcus considered the question carefully because he did miss some things like pizza and his favorite coffee shop and the easy familiarity of his apartment, but he did not miss the loneliness. that had defined so much of his life before the ring. I miss parts of it, he said, but I do not miss who I was. Kira turned to look at him, and her large blue eyes reflected the light from the Vi.